morning, everyone. Mr. Ricarte here. It's been a while, saying hello to all of you after a very nice and restful 4-day weekend. I hope you guys are all rested up. Maybe you got to enjoy the nice weather. We had some very sunny days a few times. But yeah, we're here now. We're getting near the end, but we still have a bit more work to do. So let's get on this. We're here to help you out with this lesson. So today's lesson takes us back to algebra. We're still working on the coordinate plane, and we are going to graph a line based on its equation. In this case, the equations are going to be in slope-intercept form. So whenever we see the equation of a line where it starts with y equals, that is going to be the slope-intercept form. So we see this equation right here. It says graph the line with the equation y equals negative 2x plus 2. So we think to ourselves, we know it starts with y equals, so it's slope-intercept form. Now, in case we need a little refresher, we're going to go over the parts of the slope-intercept form of a line and see how these parts are going to help us graph the line on the coordinate plane. So let's take a look at the right side of my screen. We have graphing a line using slope-intercept form of the equation of a line. Now, again, as we mentioned, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. All right. We remember these letters, m and b. Now we have to go and think back, what do each of them mean? Well, m is going to stand for the slope of a line. So remember, the slope of the line is what we worked on last week, and we can use that to help us graph this line. Now, what is the slope of a line? I'm going to give you like 3 seconds to just try to remember yourself. Now, if you said slope equals rise over run, you are absolutely correct. So the slope between 2 points, or the slope of a line, is going to be how much you rise. Remember, rise doesn't only mean going up. How much you either go up or down over the run. How much you go left or right. So in case you want that little note there, all right, it's going to be how much you go up or down over how much you go left or right. Let's see if this actually looks fine. Yes, there we go. Let me add the, let's put this like this. All right, so the slope is rise over run. In other words, how much you go up or down over how much you go left or right from one point on the line to the other point on the line. So here, y equals mx plus b. Notice the m, the slope, is the number in front of the x variable. In other words, it is the coefficient of the x variable. So if we compare the slope-intercept equation right here with the equation of the line given on my problem, I look for the number that is in front of the x variable. So the number that is in front of the x variable is a negative 2. Okay, it is negative 2. Don't forget about the signs. It's very important. Okay, so my slope is negative 2 in this case. So we talked about the m, the slope, the rise over run of my line. Now we see the next letter that has a color to it is b. All right, mx plus b. If we remember correctly, b stands for the y-intercept of my line. Now, what is the y-intercept? Well, it is the point where the line crosses the y-axis, and it's going to be written in the form parentheses, number, comma, number, parentheses. We are going to have an ordered pair, the coordinates of my point. Now, this is very easy. All right, we know that the y-intercept is the point where the line crosses the y-axis, so that means it's going to be somewhere along this y-axis right here. I'm on the left side of my screen, and I'm tracing the bold black arrow. That's my y-axis throughout this whole point. All right, my x value is always 0. Okay, it's always 0. And now we need to figure out what the y value is. Well, this is very easy. It's just the number without the x variable. Okay, so in this case, my y-intercept b is positive 2. Again, look very closely at the sign that's in front of your y-intercept. So my y-intercept here, if I match it with the equation given, my b is positive 2. Okay? So my y-intercept is 0, positive 2. Right? That's just more of a formality. We're just going to make sure that we identify the correct numbers and use them correctly to graph this line. Now, what are the steps that we're going to use to graph the equation of a line using the slope-intercept form? The first step is identify the y-intercept. In other words, the b from the equation. So as we said before, it is the number without the variable x. Pay close attention to the sign. So we see b does not have the x. If I compare it, it's positive 2. All right, positive 2. So you can either write it as 0, 2. That's as the point, or you can just say b equals 2. Let me actually just write this. Y-intercept equals 0, 2. But if we're thinking about it as b, we are just going to say b equals positive 2. Okay. Second step, we are going to plot that y-intercept, b, on the y-axis of the graph. So again, this is going to help me, the 0, 2. That means I am going to go to my graph and I'm going to plot the point 0, 2. So we know 0 is the x, it's the first number, so I go nowhere left or right. And since it's a positive 2 for the y, I go 1, 2, up. So I plotted my first point. Now notice I have pretty much like the shadow of a line appearing on my delta math. And as I move my mouse, the line is moving around. This is because 1 point is not enough to graph the line. We need at least 2 points to connect them and make a line that goes through the 2 points. Okay? So I need to figure out where my second point goes. This is where the slope comes into play. Okay? So step 3, we're going to identify the slope, in other words, the m from the equation. Again, this is the number in front of the variable x, because the m always is in front of the x. So remember, the slope is rise over run, and we need to pay close attention to a sign. So if I look closely at my equation right here, I see the slope is negative 2. So my slope is negative 2. All right? So I found my slope. Let me just make this green to keep it consistent. I like to be consistent with these things. All right? Now, we said slope is rise over run, so it should be a number over a number, right? Well, I only see one number, a negative 2. Don't worry about that. We know that any whole number, any integer, whether it be positive or negative, can be written as that number over 1. Okay? So a number over 1. So I can say in this case that my rise is negative 2. Remember, so that means it goes down 2 over 1. Right? And I know it's a positive 1 because the overall number is negative, so negative over positive is negative. So my rise, it means, whoops, bear with me guys. My rise here is down 2 units over positive 1 in the x for the run means to the right 1 unit. Okay? So again, my slope is down 2 units to the right 1 unit. All right, my next step, there we go, is starting at the y-intercept point, I'm going to use my rise over run to plot second point. Then I'm going to draw the line through the 2 points. So I look at my slope, down 2 units from the y-intercept. So 1, 2, and then to the right 1 unit. That's my run. So right here. And there's my line. So again, to recap, y equals mx plus b. I identified the b, the y-intercept, so it's positive 2. So I start at 0 here, and I go up 2. That's my first point. Second step, identify your slope, your rise over run. That is the number in front of the x variable, in this case, -2. So that means that my rise is -2 and my run is +1. So that means down 2 units from my y-intercept, 1, 2, and right 1 unit from there. And then I connect them. So I hope this helps. Remember, email us, ask any questions.